Next up is Michael. We're actually going to get started with a video that is not a Green Pines Media collaboration, but it is still amazing, and I wish it were one of ours. Um, this is a video, and Mike, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, but this is a video called Slum Village, and here we
Hey,
go.
what's going on, everybody?
Can see that?
Yeah, yeah. More conversation. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, if it's a way dreams redeemed before a nightmare, regret sets the scene. I seen fiends die for dreams while they fight fears. Needles in veins in vain, we don't survive it. By the time we're sweating blood and then we cry dry tears. It's hope alive here, we'll hope arrive here. I grip the plane and pray that the sky's clear. Jesus take the wheel, but tell me who gon' drive here. We got the drive here, who gon' Uber? I'm trying to take it deep, but tell me who gon' scuba? Jacob fought with God, then came out with a jeweler. Two-step into the struggle, something that you don't get rules. I see kids so hungry, full locked in cupboards. Why these kids so hungry? They ain't have no money, we just latching something. Backs against walls, combos with God. I felt the ghost touch me. Past five people, why they beg for change? Drive by the hood, why they beg for change? People who affected by their past. Certain things they can never get past. So I listened to some trees that spoke out the cement, a cement rose. And then I see some demons that try to keep their soul. But the angels sing a song that'll free their soul. They sing, they sing, they sing. And everybody say, na 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 na. And mama said, go ahead, dream, be something. Mama said, don't have to see something. Mama said, before you leave something. Mama's dead, know my life had to mean something. I am a seed that was sown deep, watch me grow through the weeds and the thorns. And I would not be stunned by the dark shade. Rain on, this is God's rain. I am not a victim. Break apart the system, start tripping and watch your mind catch a sentence. Turn around, we can see the burning village. Blame the little boy with the gun when we all did it. Narrative, black man trying to love the cops. And I can name a few black men that wasn't shot. Run their block, pull out their phone just to watch us kill ourselves. They tell us that we gotta heal ourselves. I look racist in the face with love. This ain't a game. I was touched as a child, and yeah, I ain't ashamed. You don't complain when you trying to be the part. Live with your heart open just so they can see the art. Ain't designer, you busted and dirty, you still rock it. You know it's real when you don't have it, but still got it. I gave you that ring for a reason, cause you're the only one I still believe in. Yeah, I said I gave you that ring for a reason, cause you're the only one I still believe in. I said I gave you that ring for a reason, cause you're the only one I still believe in. God's voice. God's voice. And this is God's choice. God's voice. And this is God's choice.
Whew. Man. Hi, Mike. Oh, let me unmute you. Okay, go ahead and unmute yourself now. I muted you again.
What's
Hi.
good? Hi. What's cracking?
Um, whew, that video,
hmm
man.
hmm
It gets me every time.
Yeah.
Um,
Shout out to Zombie who shot it. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Um, First of all, can you talk about what makes you eligible to work with Green Pines Media?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a former foster youth. I've been in foster care my entire life from 6 months to when I emancipated at 19. Did former foster youth programs after the fact. So yeah, I'm a former foster youth. I was in the system and I've been affected by the system.
Okay.
Hmm.
And you have some of the most transparent lyrics. Like, I remember going into nonprofits with you, the one nonprofit we went to, and nonprofits where it's just me talking about, Green Pines Media and your music. And every time we play that video, the kids are transfixed.
Mm.
How do you get to the point where you can talk about some of those, those really tough things, like when so many other people are just, just don't share?
Yeah, yeah. So there's like two layers to that. Like I learned early on in my music career that being surface would only get you as me as a person so far with where I was called to go. I learned early on by Anthony Gray, who was just on here, that transparency is the greatest thing that you can have as an artist, and that's kind of when I started just talking about my heights and my valleys and all the things in between. For me, when I hear other artists who are real and relatable, that's what inspires me as an artist. That's what keeps me going and gives me hope. So, I just want to be that for somebody else. Sometimes as an artist, I could feel like I'm the only person going through it. Um, but when I hear anybody else that's an artist, share their thing, I feel connected to them. So I want to be the same thing for other people in this world who may be going through things and they may feel like, they're the only ones, or there's no hope, or there's only despair. I want to be somebody that says, hey, you're not the only one going through it. I went through it too. And just to share my story and, help kids see that even though you did grow up this way, you don't have to be a product of your environment. So yeah.
Right. Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that.
Oh yeah.
And I've mentioned this earlier. It's I love it when you guys share. It's just me as a social worker. I know sometimes I have to stand out of your way and
Mhm.
allow you to do that.
Right, right, right.
Also, you decided to work in social services. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I work with, can I say who I work for?
Sure.
Okay.
Why not?
Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I work with a nonprofit called St. Joseph Center, and we help homeless people become stable. The end goal is to get housed and to decrease the numbers of homelessness. So yeah, I mean, I've been working in the nonprofit world for the last maybe 4 or 5 years, and I just entered into this industry for like the last 2 years. And yeah, it's been especially right now with everything going on, it's been very challenging because the demographic we deal with, they're like at probably the highest vulnerability for just physical illness and mental illness. So working alongside of them to help them be in safe environments now, it's been challenging, but we find a way to get it done, and I love the work.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then I was curious, like with all of the things that are going on right now with, COVID-19 and social distancing and all the things we
yeah,
see in the media,
yeah.
how has that impacted you?
Yeah, like I said, it's impacted me, like the COVID-19 and social distancing has impacted me in regards to my work. I work with before all this, I worked with clients pretty frequently, and all of a sudden we have to distance and find creative ways to still get their paperwork and help them out. So that was a little bit challenging. But just personally, um, it was a little isolating. I started to feel lonely. I mean, I have a wife and a daughter, but besides that, connecting with friends and family members, for the first couple of weeks, it was challenging, but I worked my way through it. And then just with everything going on in culture right now, it's been very, I don't want to say traumatizing, but it is kind of traumatizing and activating and triggering for me. Just trying to find the right way to go about things. Yeah.
Right. Which I can relate to that. I mean, even with a
Mm.
strong support system, there were days where I just didn't get out of bed. I was like,
Yeah.
no, it's okay. I'm just gonna stay in bed, listen to an audiobook and all of these things or just
Yeah.
whatever because it's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But you guys did something so amazing. I haven't even had a chance to talk with you about this. You guys basically created like a creative space in your apartment and just
Yeah.
did things. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Listen, the message is so powerful that we can't let nothing stop it. So we have a creative space in our house, so we just moved stuff and just started live streaming and performing. And as creatives and artists, we're figuring out ways to work the business side of things despite what's going on, but also like just letting people know that they're not alone and that the message that we have just needs to go forth no matter what. So we made it work. My wife Danielle, she speaks, she has all these lights and stuff, so she jazzes up the little space over here. So yeah, it's been a good thing. It's been really helpful for us too to maintain our craft and the sharpness of it. So yeah, it's been cool. It's been fun.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I guess the final question before we go into your next video,
Uh-huh.
how has music helped you heal, whether it's your own or someone else's music?
Yeah, that's a deep question. It's helped me heal. So like when I listen to music, I love music. I'm the type of person that wakes up to music, showers to music, goes to bed to music. It's a very therapeutic thing for me. It lets me know that there's hope. It allows me to be introspective. So listening to music allows me to heal just from the struggles of life. It's an escape for me. But then writing my own music and creating music is a whole different thing. When I find myself lost in my pen, I find a piece of myself that I would never have, done if I didn't write music or create music the way I do. So it allows me to see a different side of myself that I would have never seen if I hadn't taken the time to actually discover that I had a musical talent. So yeah, it's empowering. It gives me a confidence and authority that I didn't know that I had. Growing up in the system, that was one thing I was affected by. My self-esteem and confidence was very low. So when I started doing music, it healed me in that way. It let me know that I was powerful, that I was valued, and that my voice could be heard.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
All
no
right,
problem.
we are going to go ahead and share Destiny's Garden, which is a Green Pines Media project.
Yeah.
This is exciting to me. I've only, I think, heard it a handful of times. And again, and I was sharing with this earlier, Mike, these are, the official recordings and videos will come out later on, but we just wanted to show people what you guys are working on. So
I go by the name of Michael. This is my song called Destiny's Garden. It's basically talking about how we feel like we're seeds of hope grown in soil and dirt, but that dirt and adversity allows us to grow into something beautiful. Give me some numbers in advance. How we supposed to win if we don't ever get the chance? Dance one night with no stands. I write with no hands. Ride around the city in nice and old vans. Riding down Avalon analog. The matter got dance along to the sabotage. They villainize or they empathize. I just know addiction could leave you improvised. They try to kryptonite the rise of a generation. Fire in his eyes, no hesitation. Like they don't want to stand unified. They rather choose to die to suicide. Hey, and who the pride loves to serenade. Smaller things cause you to trip right before heaven's gate. Don't underestimate the little things, little me destined to do bigger things. Watch me in my present state. This is where real meets thriller. Pac meets thriller and God greets the killer like. It don't get realer than that. When bars heal scars, don't get iller than that. You see, cash rules everything around me. Desire rules everything around me, and I keep truth every day around me. Team knowledge illuminates, numb gatherings king. And see, my purpose was embedded in earth. Adversity and challenge came to measure my worth. Heaven buried me, so I'm treasured with dirt. They try to tell my story, so I'm telling it first. Water the green pine at the hem of my Levi's. So to speak, we need the mud before the trees die. To air in my creative lungs, speaking in my native tongue. Yo, the clouds can never shade the sun. I know the whole world is changing right now, right before our eyes. And we're changing with it. And even in these moments where it doesn't seem like we can do much, know that our little is much. There's power in the people. God is with us. Hey, hey. Yo, struggle don't last for long. Yeah, struggle don't. This is my song of hope. I told them boys to lie back. You don't want to dance with a fool, then slide back. I'm dancing with two right feet with left shoes to get my time back. I'm dreaming like IMAX. I'm feeling like Mike Jack. They say, Mike, you've been on that lyrical. What good is that if my spirit on? My bros can't move through the door cause they carry their baggage from casket to casket like, whoa, wait, you masking your passion cause life gave you hands like you playing for status like, I had to change up the fashion like my name is Virgil, I carry the static, We was kids, we didn't have enough to be enough. These days we have a hard time believing we enough. We stunt, cause back then we couldn't afford it. Reality, we one check away from being homeless. God touched the sound and made some melodies. Pain choked me with his chords and made it heavenly. I took some L so it can level me. Cooking through disaster is the recipe. Where I'm from, we moving pies without an easy bake. Get it out the mud, that's an easy cake. But I need a drip like TD Jakes. Respect like Aretha Franklin, my Issa Race. God touched the tongue and wrote a psalm on it. The pen touched the pad and wrote a song on it. I sing hymns, how my people survive, bitching and crack pipes. Now we run the world and sing songs during half times. I'm a black boy sown in the soil of America, the era of indifference. Brown man with a hijab, we screaming terrorists. White man with a badge on, we scream supremacists. Black man with hoodies on, we screaming menaces. All of these characters, all of these narratives, why are they scared of us? Why are they scared of us? Why are they scared of us? Hey. And even if they are, we're growing through Destiny's garden on this earth. Thank you.
Whew.
Hey, that's the first time watching that back.
Yeah, that's whew. That kind of choked me up. That almost got me. Let me close out of here.
Glory to the
All
Lord.
right. Yeah, I'm excited to start working on that project, Mike. Like, whew, yeah, I'm really excited. But yeah, unless you have anything you want to add, we're gonna move on to, oh, I did want to say, if you guys want to support Michael, his information is up there in the corner. Let's see. And yeah, he has music that's out. You can look him. You have what is it? Slum Village is actually on YouTube and things like that.
Yeah,
And can you remind
yeah,
me? You have things actually on like iTunes and yeah.
yeah.
So
My
visit.
latest single is out there on iTunes and Apple Music and all that right now, so you can support by streaming that.
Absolutely. So it's Mikol. You can support
Yep,
Michael this way and listen to some good music in the process.
yep.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh gosh. Okay. All these emotional videos, but you know what? We're doing really well. Um, the next artist that we actually have, we only have in video format. This is from Nakai Love. She is not able to join us. So I just want to show you this project. This is something we just kind of put together. Really, we want you to hear the music. And we're still working on it, honestly. But without going into too much detail, I just want to let you know we're working with 14 artists total, 7 vocal, 7 visual. And so many of our artists are struggling right now in different ways. I mean, illness, homelessness, death, just so many types of struggles, deaths in the family, I should say. And we want to be mindful of that and, you know, just let them know we're thinking about them as they go through these things. But, or I should say, and this is Nakai Love and Rise. How you rolling, by the way?
It's 7 in the morning and I've got to get to work. Roll over in the bed, I've got to get my feet to work. Something ain't right, gotta get a peace of mind. I think I'm gonna go to the beach and call off work this time. Call up my boss and say I can't make it in today. She said, I hear you, girl, but are you okay? Took a deep breath and I said, I guess I need some time to clear this deepness off my chest. She said, I know that it's hard and I know it's heavy. Yeah. When you're shooting past stars, G-force just damage. Yeah, I know that it's hard and I know that it's heavy. When you're shooting past stars, G-force just damage. we'll drive here. I was thinking about a plan. How am I gonna do it? I gotta get through this. Chop it and screw it. Take action and move it. I'm sitting here in the universe. She spoke. She said, Nakai, how do you think I keep this thing afloat? She said, I gotta do it. I gotta move it. Chop it and screw it. Take action and move it. She said, I know that it's hard and I know that it's heavy. When you're shooting by stars, G-force does damage. Yeah, I know that it's hard and I know that it's heavy. When you're shooting by stars, G-force does damage. You know, yeah, you know, that's a start. I don't think you shoot for stars if you didn't think you'd go far. Don't limit yourself, go see what you can get before you're stuck at home alone thinking about what you could have did. You know that it's a start.
Okay, that was Rise by Nakai Love. That one got me. Um, I think, and I could be wrong, but that song was completely done by former foster youth. The guitar, the melodies, all of that. And when I first heard Nakai sing it, there's just something about her voice where it literally can be R&B, pop, country, depending on the music. And the first version was a little bit more R&B, but every time she sings it, it's like it grabs my heart, just knowing some of her challenges, what she's been through. And I met Nakai because she very bravely just shared her story on Instagram one day about struggling with homelessness, about just life after foster care. And I remember driving with Terry and I was like, should I reach out? I mean, this is random. We haven't even completely started doing anything yet, but we knew it was meant to be. And yeah, so she's amazing. And we'll be working on other projects. We have another one that's coming up. So Nakai, I don't know if you're here listening, but we're just thinking about you. And yeah, that's what we put together so far. And we'll be back in the studio soon. And now it is time, let's see, 4:35. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. We are going to be playing something by Nigel Roman. And actually, I'm sorry, I still have Michael's information on there. If you want to support Nakai, this is her information here. You can follow her at Nakai Love _ and then her Venmo at Nakai -love. And then Terry will probably, oh, he already put it in the chat. Good job, man. You're on top of it. Nigel also was not able to join us, unfortunately, but there is some backstory with him. And some of you know I've already shared this, but basically when I did traditional social work, going on, 12 years ago now, Nigel actually was receiving services at the nonprofit that I worked at. It was a transitional housing program, and we just could not relate to artists, is what I realized. A lot of times in independent living programs or when you're dealing with social services, there's a case plan or there's stuff that we want our young adults to accomplish. And those things have good intentions. The problem is it doesn't always resonate with anyone, and it certainly does not resonate with artists. And what I mean by that is, while we're saying, hey, you need a job, go to McDonald's, go to Burger King, go to Target, artists want to create. They don't want to be, and I don't want to generalize because they will do what they need to do, but artists such as Nigel, for example, he was passionate about music and art. He's also a visual artist in addition to an amazing singer. And I've shared this on social media. Nigel ended up getting kicked out of the transitional housing program basically because we did not know how to be innovative and relate to artists. And ultimately, a friend of his kind of called me to task on that. Like, why do you guys do that as social workers? Why can't you teach life skills in the context of art and music? You had all this talent here. Why not do something with it? And that was the conversation that planted the seed for what would now become Green Pines Media. Nigel knew nothing about this at all. I tried reaching out to him when I had the radio show. He was basically like, oh yeah, I remember you. And then it was crickets for like 2 years. And that's okay, because sometimes, you know, I don't know if it was sick of social workers or just living life, but I kept at it and kind of watched what he was doing. And ultimately he reached out maybe about, I don't know, 6 months ago and said, hey, I'm getting ready to release my first album. Let's talk. And that discussion led Terry and I out to Joshua Tree. And, you know, basically he's on board with what we're trying to do. And so his album actually released on the 10th. It's out now. It's self-titled Nigel Roman. But again, all of these videos and visuals that I'm showing, most of these were done during social distancing. And so this is an unofficial video for by Nigel Roman for his song, The Edge. It kind of kicks me in the heart because again, our origins and just knowing that this is what we missed out on doing traditional social work and not thinking innovatively. But anyway, here's The Edge by Nigel Roman.
Run through the window days. Go now, do not delay. 'Cause the moment and the night that you feel this way, it's just made a memory. They can never be erased. It's a choice you made. I was born with a left and right all alone in the cold dark night. That don't mean, no, that don't mean the sun won't shine. I was told that I might fall on an ocean stone, might have broken my back, never got back home. But then I wouldn't have you. All I knew was that I needed more. And all I knew was you needed more too. To know what it takes to be great, need to be pushed out of the nest I made. Trust in the wind to carry you out. But it's alright to mess up and just do it again, baby. And it's alright, if you get lost, you'll be able to find. It's alright, 'cause I've been where you've been before.
Yeah, so that was The Edge by Nigel Roman. I want to read something that, and he has this on his social media and his Instagram, so some of you may have seen it, but in the event you're not following him, this is his Nigel speaking. He says, "It's official. My album is released and in most major stores. I spent the morning listening and crying. It's impossible to really convey what this album means to me. I know everybody is making music. I know that every market is saturated, but this isn't really a product to me. This is my journal. My life was hard in many ways, and this is how I was going to tell people about it. I can't stress enough how much I wish these songs can help you in your hard times. Because honestly, I made them so that you can reflect on your own life. These songs are about me, yes, but they're also about you. To those who have hurt me in my life, I honestly forgive you. I completely forgive you. To those who have yet to forgive, give it a try. Special thanks to everyone who made this possible." Like I said, I get emotional for a number of reasons because without even knowing it, Nigel was part of our story. I don't know if he has a chance to join us. But I know this has been a really hard time, obviously for Black people, what we're dealing with in general. But I know Nigel is also such an amazing ally, and he didn't know how to effectively be an ally, I guess, publicly. And I was like, Nigel, like all the work you do with us, I mean, this is a company owned by Black women for the most part, predominantly. And the work he does with other artists, I'm like, you are an ally in your music and what you do. You're helping other artists. Just keep going because, and I hope it's okay that I shared this part because I did not ask him about this part, but he was concerned about putting this album out. And this album is amazing from beginning to end. I listened to it, and when he talks about, making it not just for himself, but for other people, when I listened to some of the songs of this album, it literally transported me to my childhood. Just, being in footy pajamas and going to the drive-in movies when I felt safe with my parents. Like, it was so emotional, and it's so good. And one of the reasons why I started this company, like I said, was because we wanted to, help former foster youth monetize their music, yes. But we also wanted to show the world that it's not, these aren't young adults who are only former foster youth. And I hate using that term sometimes. These are artists, these are creatives, these are people who have some amazing things to contribute to the world. If we can just start thinking from a different perspective, if we can look at innovation, if we can look at human-centered design and stop making systems that are designed for the whole and start focusing on systems that can really speak to the youth, because this is what they're capable of. I mean, you've heard all of these amazingly talented young adults. They just need people on their side, people who understand trauma and who are willing to come alongside of them. So, all right, that's my spiel. Where are we on time? We're at 4:47. We're doing pretty good. So next up, we're going to have our guest speakers. Evelyn, I see that you are here. I'm going to unmute you. Sorry, I needed a moment after that. But yeah, yeah. I just love the artists that we're working with. They're so amazing. Anyway, Evelyn, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I feel the same. I'm taking a moment. That was absolutely incredible.
Yeah. So I'm just going to read a little bit of your bio if you don't mind.
Of course.
That'll, yeah, get me back into... Yeah, okay, so this is Evelyn, you guys. Evelyn is a Venice Beach-based singer-songwriter and an indie pop artist. Her releases have accrued over 75 million plays on Spotify, and she has written and collaborated with many producers, artists, and writers such as Phineas, Louis the Child, Icona Pop, RAC, and Tritonal. Her releases have been supported by New Music Friday on Spotify, Nylon and Paper Magazine, and she's performed at South by Southwest at shows around the country. And she works heavily in sync and has been, and has seen placements in the CW, Netflix, Hulu, CBS, MTV, and most recently HBO's Spring Promo campaign. She's currently in the studio with a multitude of LA-based bands and artists, and is finishing up her debut album. It's a work based around healing and positivity in music. So definitely check her out on Spotify. So thank you again, Evelyn. Sorry, I'm still like snotty nose from all of that. Evelyn, can you just talk about some of the ways that you personally are using music as a therapeutic tool, and how you are just helping just like the community using therapeutic tools?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, Dina, thank you so much for having me. Green Pines Media is incredible. I'm new to it and I'm loving being here today. I am blown away by what I've heard over the past hour, honestly. It's been emotional and it's been incredible hearing what everyone has shared. So thank you to all of the artists, because it's been terrific. Yeah, I am very passionate about this topic. Mindfulness and healing in music is something that is deeply personal to me. Maybe a year ago, I've always struggled with anxiety, but around a year ago, I got to a place where it was debilitating and I stopped really having good days. And I started to figure out, feeling very defeated, how I could pull myself back out from there and that place. And one of the things I turned to when I was kind of seeking help was using music outside of my own creation to kind of calm my nervous system, and as a healing tool and a therapeutic tool. And, simultaneously, I started working on a new album and working with a lot of different producers. So a lot of the stuff that I was doing at home, I was then bringing into the studio with me. And I was having a lot of really interesting conversations that, to me at the time going through the struggle, felt very vulnerable. But I was realizing that so many people around me had the same experience. They were struggling with their mental health, with anxiety, with feelings of depression, and just being able to talk about it and create music together, especially implementing these kind of sonic devices that were feeling so healing to me at home, started to create this journey in this album that I'm currently working on. So, a year later now, and I'm coming up on finishing this album. It's got a lot of these elements. I think in writing it, I faced up to some really difficult things, and I got to work through some stuff, some really hard stuff that I didn't always want to deal with. And now I have my anxiety kind of more managed than I ever have before. So I was really honored when Dina asked me to come do this today, because I kind of just wanted to talk about some of the things that worked for me. So whether or not you are currently pursuing a career in music, whether you are a hobbyist or you are just, an appreciator of music, I think any of these tools could be kind of used in your anxiety and depression management toolbox. I think they're just powerful tools to have. So the first thing I kind of wanted to talk about was songwriting. And Dina, let me know if you have questions or want to step in at all. But I think that, so for me, songwriting has been something that I've always known professionally. And I love it, and I write about my experience. But I kind of started to realize over the past year that I could use it as a means of truly processing difficult emotion. So how many of you have ever journaled through a difficult experience or talked through a tough emotion with someone? It's that active processing can be very cathartic. And, I started to write songs specifically with that intention in mind. And there's a lot of ways to do this within music, for sure. I think a lot of people write about their own emotions. But I started to do this thing kind of called visualization when I was writing songs specifically to process tough stuff. And a lot of you know how, a song structure works, but it's basically you have your verse, which is your first 30 seconds to a minute of a song, the kind of chill spoken part. Then you have the pre-chorus, which is a light build, and then you have your chorus. And what I realized is when I was processing a difficult emotion and I would make the chorus the feeling that I wanted to get to, whether it was positivity, empowerment, self-love, I could really start to work toward that feeling even if I wasn't feeling it so much. I have started to try and do this throughout my work, and it's been very therapeutic for me. And I realize another good example of this song, which is a very light example, but Ariana Grande's Thank You Next does this. She talks in her in her verses about these relationships that she's gone through and how difficult they are. And then in her pre-chorus, she expresses gratitude, but you can tell she's been struggling. And then in her hook, she says, thank you next. It's motivation, it's empowering, it's gratitude. And even though she may not be there herself, she's giving us that to us as an audience. We're experiencing that motion and getting that from her and working through it with her. And you know she's visualizing that kind of end goal. So I find that to be like a really powerful tool just for me. It's a kind of mental vote of confidence, and I think it can help your audience get there too. But I think that, again, there are so many different ways to process emotion within music. So, and you don't have to make that sappy or cheesy either. Sometimes I think it's tough when you're writing stuff and you want it to feel positive and to embody that positivity for yourself because it's healing. But I think it's a unique challenge to put that into your own style and to make it, you know, sonically within your world. I think that will really resonate with people too. So songwriting aside, I've also noticed that there are some ways to calm your nervous system and center yourself that are just kind of musical tools. And I use these on a day-to-day basis. So I don't know how many of you have ever caught yourselves humming or singing along to the radio when you're tense or on your way to something you're nervous about. The same way that, you know, a small child is soothed by a mother's singing voice when she's singing a lullaby, the human voice is very soothing. And so the vibration of your own voice too can really help to center you. It can also regulate your breathing. So when I've struggled with having panic attacks or really bad anxiety, even if I'm about to walk into the studio and I've got to pull it together, and I can hum to myself for a minute, it really calms me down and centers me and gets my breathing patterns happening again. If you're not a singer, respect that. You can also do this with holding a guitar to your body. There are instruments that are made for this, such as tuning forks and crystal bowls. And similarly to like centering yourself or calming yourself, you know, how many of you have a pump up jam or some song that gets you just ready to go out with friends or makes your day better instantly or makes you run faster at the gym? Music can also elevate your mood. It can, you know, reduce anxiety and depression, boost your confidence and your self-esteem. So a simple tool that I like to do is I like to make emergency playlists for myself. These are playlists that are full of, for me, because I struggle with anxiety, they're calming, but I also can get low. And so I want them to have a little bit of a mood elevating element too. And I'll make these playlists on like a Saturday when I'm feeling good, so that when I have a moment where I am struggling, I can put it on and it's a first line of defense for myself. And I think that there's a lot of interesting music out there that I've discovered through this process. And you can really look for yoga and meditation playlists that already are designed for this. There's also something called binaural beats, which are when two different tones or frequencies are played in each ear. And it actually can help you with studying or with focus and concentration. I like it for sleep. It's very calming. There are these things called sound baths, which are, you know, when I mentioned tuning forks and crystal bowls earlier, it's this kind of, you know, hippy dippy thing where you can find a, you know, a pre-made one on YouTube and let yourself relax at home and play these sound baths or these pre-recorded, you know, they're really made for anxiety and depression and mental health and wellness. And the coolest part is it really exposes you to a lot of new music that you wouldn't necessarily hear normally. I've always been someone who I like what I like. And over the last year, I've heard so many different instruments and so many different artists and so much unique like sonic elements that then I've been able to bring into my own music and make stuff that I never would have really thought of before. So I find it to be kind of a way to get out of your element and bring it back to your audiences as you're working through and doing something that's really good and healthy for you. And so I really just, you know, those are some tools that have worked for me. There's a lot out there, but I just kind of want to end by saying that being creatives is so difficult. It's so taxing on your mental health. And that's because it is so vulnerable. It is incredibly vulnerable to put your experience and your emotion and your art out there. And you are being judged. You just are. That's part of being an artist. And it's very freeform. There are a number of reasons why it can be really difficult. but it's so important to show up for ourselves and to make sure we are feeling mentally well and that we are taking care of our mental health, because that's the only way we're going to be able to show up for our art, so that the people out there who need our art will be able to get it. So the work and the art that you are doing is meaningful and it's important and the world needs to hear it. So what I've discussed today has worked for me, but I encourage everyone to explore the ways that music can kind of be a healing modality for yourselves as you continue your mental health journeys and pursue your lives as artists.
Thank you, Evelyn. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm really glad you brought that up as far as just music. Creating music is difficult because, you know, you're sharing your vulnerability, or you're putting yourself out there, because, and I don't share this with a lot of people, I guess we just haven't had a place to really talk about it, but we basically became an indie label, which it was funny because I had to have our entertainment attorney tell us that we were an indie label because I didn't know. I'm like, we're monetizing work. Anthony's over here nodding because he's been telling me this from the very beginning. I'm like, yeah, whatever. But part of that also means that we can't accept everything. And so even our own artists have submitted music to us, and I'm like, it's not bad. I'm just not feeling it the same way I felt some of your other work. And I know that can be devastating to have someone, even like, you know, the fact that we exist to monetize music, basically saying we're going to have to pass on this one. Do you have any tips for our artists when they're facing those types of challenges, when they pour their heart out into a song and think it is the best thing? Anthony again nodding, and I'm like, yeah, it's great, but not for us. You should, you know, hold on to this one.
Yes, that is a tough one, just because that is kind of the lifelong struggle of an artist. It's insane the amount of kind of, yeah, you know, subjectivity that you're putting out there, and some people might love it and some people might not love it. I think one of the best things you can do is, first of all, I think take care of your mental health when you're engaging with the world and you're putting art out there. And something that I've had to learn a couple times is don't read the comments. Don't do it. Take care of yourself. But also I think know that you should keep creating, keep going, make more art, because you're always going to get better. I think that's been a humbling experience to realize, and something I've seen in my friends who are creatives is like, you do something now and you think it's the best, do a couple more. You're gonna be even better and create something even more impactful. And I think when you can kind of get there and realize that you're always a student of this and you're always improving and doing something, you know, even more impressive the next time, then, you know, sometimes having losses is really devastating, and it's probably always going to be, but know that that does not reflect on you as an artist.
Thank you for that. Anthony, seriously, you're an amazing artist. We love you. We love all of our artists, but we can't accept everything. Evelyn, are you able to hang out a little bit towards the end to answer any potential questions?
Yes, I would love to. I'm definitely here for questions. And also, I am around for anyone. Please, if you want to like hit me up on my Instagram too. I love what people have been working on that I've heard today, and would just love to be part of the community and connecting with artists. So absolutely.
Love it. Terry just put her Instagram into the chat, so you guys utilize that, and check out her stuff on Spotify. I've been listening to it for the past couple days. It is, I really like it. I mean, obviously it's really good. You have, what was it, like 75 million plays on Spotify. Like, it's really, really good. So yeah, check. Look, Anthony, you crack me up. All right, Evelyn, I appreciate you. We are going to move on with our next speaker, which is actually Lisa Gordon-Kane. Let me unmute you here. All right, Lisa, go ahead and try to unmute yourself. There you go. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon.
How
Thank you for inviting me.
You are very welcome. Lisa, I guess I just have to tell you guys, she is one of my favorite people. We both were in the social entrepreneurship program together. And she helped me get through a lot of things. I'm going to read just a brief snippet of your bio that I have, because it's pretty extensive. Lisa Gordon-Kane is a psychologist, a health coach, and a professor. She's also a social entrepreneur and the founder of Why I Am a Woman. Her organization creates workshops and healthy spaces for those who are involved in activism. They focus on human centered design for sustainable mental, physical, and financial health. I'll just leave that little portion there and just ask you, Lisa, what are some of the biological effects of music on our brains and on our bodies?
Well, because I am a professor and an educator, and I'm sure glad I did this because Evelyn did a wonderful job talking about, thank you, Evelyn, for how music is very therapeutic and that it's a great intervention, it's a good prevention. And so I've designed this so that you all can, I don't know if I can I should have said something to you in email. Can I share screen?
Let me try. Hold on here.
I think it's options.
Yeah, let me see here. Participant.
I wanted to show you all a little of the brain mechanism, what goes on, then talk a little bit about how we can use those brain mechanisms to kind of teeter-totter ourselves when we're out of balance in a negative way, how music brings us right back to the positive. And then for us to actually participate in like a 1-minute exercise.
Work? Okay.
Want to see if it'll work?
All right, see if you can share your screen now.
I think I can. Am I sharing screen, everybody?
Looks like it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's give it a roll. Ready?
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
This is basically showing you what goes on inside your brain when you hear music.
But what is it about making music that sets the brain alight? The research is still fairly new, but neuroscientists have a pretty good idea. Playing a musical instrument engages practically every area of the brain at once, especially the visual, auditory, and motor cortices. And as with any other workout, disciplined, structured practice in playing music strengthens those brain functions, allowing us to apply that strength to other activities. The most obvious difference between listening to music and playing it is that the latter requires fine motor skills, which are controlled in both hemispheres of the brain. It also combines the linguistic and mathematical precision in which the left hemisphere is more involved, with the novel and creative content that the right excels in. For these reasons, playing music has been found to increase the volume and activity in the brain's corpus callosum, the bridge between the two hemispheres, allowing messages to get across the brain faster and through more diverse routes. This may allow musicians to solve problems more effectively and creatively in both academic and social settings. Because making music also involves crafting and understanding its emotional content and message, musicians often have higher levels of executive function, a category of interlinked tasks that includes planning, strategizing, and attention to detail, and requires simultaneous analysis of both cognitive and emotional aspects. This ability also has an impact on how our memory systems work. And indeed, musicians exhibit enhanced memory functions, creating, storing, and retrieving memories more quickly and efficiently. Studies have found that musicians appear to use their highly connected brains to give each memory multiple tags, such as a conceptual tag, an emotional tag, an audio tag, and a contextual tag, like a good internet search engine. So how do we know that all these benefits are unique to music as opposed to, say, sports or painting? Or could it be that people who go into music were already smarter to begin with? Neuroscientists have explored these issues, but so far they have found that the artistic and aesthetic aspects of learning to play a musical instrument are different from any other activity studied, including other arts. And several randomized studies of participants who showed the same levels of cognitive function and neural processing at the start found that those who were exposed to a period of music learning showed enhancement in multiple brain areas compared to the others. This recent research about the mental benefits of playing music has advanced our understanding of mental function, revealing the inner rhythms and complex interplay that make up the amazing orchestra of our brain.
Brandman MyPath. Now, with that in mind, I want to share something else that's about 1.5 minutes long And that is talking about how the brain works with music. So, all you musicians, you're smarter, you have better functioning with memory, you have better abilities with detail. And the reason being is that all areas of the brain are in operation when we have music. Now, let's talk about how that impacts our lives when we have positive and or negative experiences. That music is very good, as Ola was saying, with resilience.
Resilience is the result of a highly interactive process between individual characteristics in the person and the environment in which that individual has developed.
It's really the counterbalancing of difficult things that may exist in the child's life with positive things that occur within the family, but even positive things that may exist in the community.
An easy way of thinking about resilience is like a scale with a fulcrum in the middle of it. And there are things on both sides of that scale, experiences of both bad things or good things.
Our genes shape where the fulcrum is positioned at the start.
There are certain genes that make a child more sensitive to the effects of maltreatment or parental neglect or witnessing violence.
The fulcrum may start out kind of more towards one side or more towards the other side, and that's going to make a big difference in terms of how much these subsequent events affect things positively or negatively.
Science tells us that experience moves the fulcrum, for better or for worse.
Even though we are born with genes, genes will respond differently to certain environmental situations as opposed to others.
What the genes are actually doing are turning up or turning down the expression of chemicals in circuits in the brain and the circuitry in the entire body that govern our responses to stress, to anxiety, to depressive symptoms.
When positive experiences accumulate and children learn coping skills that help them to manage stress, the fulcrum can slide, so the scale tilts toward positive outcomes more easily. That's what resilience is all about.
There's always an adult, or more than one adult, who is key to providing that relationship that helps to build resilience.
Now,
okay. Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, you're always the professor, I swear.
Well, I'm almost done with all the analytics, but I wanted to bring that out because as far as balancing this fulcrum, one of the main things that we can do is to use music. As she said, making a playlist that has certain kinds of music that helps exhilarate certain kinds of moods. And let me go into why this works. It works because even people with Alzheimer's that just sit like catatonic in a chair for weeks at a time, when you put headsets on them and they hear music, especially if it's from their era, they begin to engage and interact. So we know that music is a very powerful medicine or very powerful force. Resilience is that homeostasis or that balance, and you get kicked down, you get back up. Get kicked down, you get back up. It's actually known as the highest level of human intelligence is resilience. So all the people that are on this wonderful virtual concert and showcase today are examples of that kind of resilience. So what is that actually doing? Music is the messenger of happiness and joy. So I wrote some notes so that I wouldn't go too far into stuff. But how many of you know about dopamine? Mm-hmm. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter in the brain. It has to do with motivation. Music stimulates that. It also transmits the endorphins, and that has to do with the minimizing or helping us tolerate pain, physical pain, mental pain, but also emotional pain. Then it also lowers cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine, that stuff that's in our body that says we're in the fight or flight or freeze or faint syndrome. And when we're in that syndrome, it shuts off our digestive system. So it means that we're unable to absorb nutrients or get rid of waste properly. It also shuts down the immune system, which means that now we're unable to fight off disease, and also digestion, which I talked about that one real quick. But it also stimulates respiration, where we go into heart palpitations. And finally, the love hormone, oxytocin, loves music. Okay. And oxytocin actually stimulates growth and healing thresholds. So music does nothing but positive things for us. Okay. Even music when you're feeling kind of down or out, or that, oh baby, I lost my loved one kind of thing, it helps people transition through those kinds of things. So I'm going to ask you now to participate in something. May I, Dina?
Okay, gosh.
It's about a minute long. It requires that everybody stand up.
Oh, Lisa.
I don't know how many of you know who Bobby McFerrin is. I still need to share screen.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's okay, no problem. And this is going to get us up and going and prove to you how those dopamines, endorphins, oxytocins kick in. Is it a hassle?
Not a hassle. We do have one more speaker after you, though.
It's only 1 minute.
Can you share it now?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Or the screen. Can you share the screen?
Okay. Do you guys see me?
No. Let me see.
Okay, hold on for a second. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be taking up too much time. But everybody stand up with Bobby McFerrin.
There you go.
Okay, here we go. Now I want you to do exactly as he says, okay?
Okay.
It'll open up the screen. Here we go.
Talking about expectations. Watch.
Everybody stand up. Follow Bobby.
Okay.
Okay, I can't do all of that.
Almost done.
Okay, Lisa, I hate to interrupt, but we have to get our next speaker on. I'm so sorry.
Okay. That's okay. I just wanted people to see what it does for them psychologically. He's done.
Okay. Thank you for that. That was a surprise. I love you. You just tickle me. Thank you, Lisa. I so appreciate you. Okay. Man, Lisa, I just have to tell you guys, she's such a blast and a pleasure in our classes. But anyway, we're going to go on to our next guest, Mr. Andre Alexander. Let's see, are you unmuted? Can you hear me, Andre?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Hello, hello. Thank you for
Hello.
joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to read your a brief part of your bio, which is very extensive, so bear with me. Andre Alexander is a pianist, a vocalist, a Marine Corps veteran, an Amazon best-selling author of the book Build Your Music Career from Scratch, and has multiple Billboard #1s. His expertise includes the music business, music for film and television, and music production. He's worked on projects such as Empire, Detroit the Movie, The Birth of a Nation soundtrack. Some of the artists he's worked with include Neo, let's see, Melissa Etheridge, Allie Willis, Meek Mills, Pusha T, Kanye West, Jessie J, Rodney Jerkins, and lots more. Andre has worked with nonprofits to use music as a tool for social rehabilitation in the homeless community and to serve underserved school children where music has been removed from their school's curriculum. Finally, he is a faculty member at USC's Thornton School of Music in the Music Industry Department. Whew, thank you, Andre.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts about music as it relates to social movements? And I'll leave that open to however you want to discuss it.
Well, it takes me, can you all see me? Everything's fine? Everything good?
It's just your name right now, not your face, but we can hear you.
Okay, let me see. What is happening? Hold up. All right, there we go. Is this better? Can you see me?
Yes.
There we go. All right, so basically I had some notes. I was trying to see if I can read some of the notes that I took before this, but let's just go.
Okay.
It takes me to the actual purpose of music, and I realized as a consultant for a lot of musicians, and even talking to a lot of musicians, we don't understand the actual purpose of music. And when you ask someone the purpose of music, they always say things like, of course, dealing with the purpose of music is to convey emotions, right? So to convey emotions, and one of my favorite things that Quincy Jones ever said, he didn't originate the phrase, but I loved it because he said it as well. The purpose of music is not only to convey emotions, but it is also to create the soundtrack to people's lives. Think about that concept. And so we don't understand that we have the literal power to create the soundtrack. That means with somebody's first kiss, somebody's in junior high school, and all of a sudden that song comes on, and all of a sudden there's palms are sweaty. They want to ask that person for the dance, their first little dance in junior high school, and all of a sudden they walk up and it's like, all right, let's go. Can we dance? And then this person says yes. All of a sudden, they're dancing. They get a little too close. Then the teacher comes, no! And then they smack them like, spread up, space. All of these things. What song was that? The prom, whatever happened at the prom. What song was that? Whatever happened when, somebody, you fall in love and you get married. What song was it that you walked down the aisle to? What was your breakup song? Like all of these songs that we create. So in my opinion, of course, we have it's not even a right, but it's like we have the responsibility as creatives, and knowing that our job is to convey emotion and of course to create the soundtrack to people's lives in times of social unrest, in times of happiness and joy, but especially in social unrest. We have the mandate, in my opinion, as creators, to take the emotions that people can't put into words and use our artistic gifts to do what? Put them in music, put them in dance, put them in visual mediums of expression, whatever that is. We have that responsibility to our fans because they may not be able to put them into words. And of course we can go into history and talk about, what they call work songs, when the slaves would literally be in the fields picking cotton and, singing the songs. But then all of a sudden there'll be these covert messages in these songs where, Harriet Tubman would be coming that night or something, and they knew where to go and they would give each other directions. At the sneeze, hold on. Hey!
Bless you.
That is not a COVID. I don't have it. Whatever. Basically, from slavery times to you then move on to, civil rights, of course, we discussed in the 60s, where, people like Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder, 60s and 70s, and all of these people would put what's going on into songs. And now we took the emotion and feeling of a generation, of a period, of a social movement, and we put them into words, right? That's powerful. Right. Then you can look at today. I just watched was it Dave Chappelle's comedy act? That's still art, that's still expression, that's still entertainment. And he did what? Took the emotion of a generation and he put them into a comedy sketch, which was funny, but was it really? It made you think. It put your emotion into words, into these ideas and concepts. You can go into the 90s, 80s and 90s with apartheid in South Africa. I went to South Africa and I got to talk to them, where it was illegal to say Nelson Mandela's name, and they were under apartheid. You couldn't even say his name. So what they did was they took a nickname for him and wrote hundreds of songs with his nickname in it. So only they knew that they were talking about him. So the moment he was released, what happened? President, apartheid overthrown. Now all the generations after them flourished. So now the one thing, in my opinion, that connects all of that is the fact that it was not. It was the wisdom, of course, of the elders. Those of us who in academia, because there was a lot of professors in that movement as well. But it was the energy of a generation younger than them. Right? So the majority of, our artists and musicians are talking to generation, Z, and of course millennials and Z, and then what is it, generation A, and all these generations beneath us. We have a responsibility to put the emotions, the feelings, the ideologies of a movement into expressions that they can easily consume. That's music. Really, it's our job. If you don't want to do that, then go do something else. But that's our responsibility, especially during times of civil social unrest. It's our responsibility to do that. And again, dealing with the fact that we get to create the soundtrack. They are sitting at home feeling frustrated. Now they're literally at home alone, a lot of them. And what's their way of escape? Of course, video games, that's one way, violence and whatever else, video games. Then you put those headphones on, those earbuds and earpods, whatever you want to use. You have them in your head, and now someone else is creating a world for you. They're showing you how to think. They're teaching you ways to express yourself. So in order to do that, it's our responsibility not to just talk about these concepts and ideas, but to honestly be authentic. Because I believe there's two ways to be an artist, right? There's one way, a person who absolutely chases after the awards and they chase after the billboards, and you need to do that. Success it's what we want. But you also have to be authentic. That's why, in my opinion, artists like a Rihanna, we love her not just because she's a great artist, but because she's authentic. Wherever she is, she's there, being herself, and we love it. She can be wild and crazy, but it's authenticity. Now, will you appeal to everyone? No, but you will appeal to who you're supposed to appeal to. So, in my opinion, I just think it's our absolute responsibility as artists, as creatives, as musicians, to create the soundtrack and to put into words those feelings, those emotions, and those ideologies that we need to affect change in the way that we all want it to happen. Like, I'm not going to tell you how you should be, but do something, that's just it. So I think it's the most important thing, music. And I think it goes hand in hand again, music and social responsibility.
I love that. Thank you. When you were speaking, the first thing that popped into my brain from that perspective and the responsibility was Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit. When she's addressing lynchings and things like that. And it gave me chills. Like, I know music and art is important, but I never thought of it as a responsibility to help create the soundtrack of life and to educate younger people. That feels heavy, but it's in a good way, and I'm sure all of our artists already know this. I'm just now learning it, but that's amazing that you can think of it from that perspective. Although I do know some people, like you said, who are just trying to put stuff out, and then it's just about, let me just get money, let me just make it, and there's not much to it. I think, I'm not going to say who, but someone defined that as mumble rap that doesn't have much to it. But I'm hoping even in that maybe there's a personal message that that they're trying to convey. I don't know. But...
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. Now,
okay.
this is something that older generations don't understand with newer music, right? Yeah. So watch. Back in the day, we loved jazz, and of course, I'm a trained musician, so I've studied all of it from classical to jazz to all of that, all the eras. What happens was, back in the day, you would convey your emotions in the form of absolute virtuosity. So you are a virtuosic vocalist, you are a musician, you could play, you could do all these things, and you become a composer, and now you're Mozart, Beethoven, blah, 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 blah. Then through the jazz era, which we absolutely love. Now, the difference in those eras and today's music, and people don't unless you're a trained musician, you don't really understand this. You could now, utilizing what they call sound design, take one note that may be 8 layers of notes, meaning sampling. You could have sampled something from the 70s. You could have sampled something from a Beethoven piece with using music from the 1800s. You could have then taken that, reversed it, flipped it, extended it, and all of these layers of errors and errors and errors of emotion are now compounded into one single note, where I could hit one note with the drum beat, and you can feel so much depth of emotion. Now, that to me is absolutely brilliant, but if you're expecting, and you're just getting, you're getting in that one note, you're getting all of this emotion and energy. That's what, in my opinion, mumble rap is. And of course, if you don't feel the emotion and you're not connected to it, then you won't understand it. But does that mean it is not serving a purpose? I don't think so. It's just a different way of expressing emotion.
I love that.
You know?
That's awesome. So mumble rap is actually a thing. That's not like a derogatory term.
It is derogatory.
Okay.
However,
what is it
I'm just
actually
saying,
called?
Well, there's a lot of different genres. Of course, some people call it trap. Some people call it, like, there's a lot of things that, but like, it depends on what the artist is. But it's a thing. But again, even there's some, drug culture, all these things you want to talk about. But I believe it all serves a purpose of mode of expression. And who am I to tell you how to express your emotions?
That's awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
So much talking to you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right.
Well, somebody just put in some people say that music is influenced by past artists. Do I believe that it's influenced or stolen ideas? Well, think about this. There are only 12 notes in Western music anyway. 12 actual notes, C or A to A, 12 notes in the chromatic scale, 12 notes. That means everyone who's used more than 2 notes at a time, any note combination you've used is already done. Like, we've already done that, and it's been scientifically proven. So at the end of the day, anybody who plays a C major chord is actually stolen from someone else. We didn't create chords. We didn't create, so now saying that there are ways to be influenced by someone and still add your seasonings, your salt and peppers, versus taking someone's direct lift of their recipes, right? And that's wrong. But there's an AI, augmented intelligence community that has gone and taken all of the combinations, and they want to put it into the public domain so we can get rid of the idea of complete spilling, and trying to figure out how do we actually take these ideas, keep them relevant for future generations, because it's just like anything else. It's a quantifiable number. There's an actual number for how many ideas we can actually have. So, that's another conversation within itself.
Wow. Man, sometimes I wish I was actually a musician so I can know some of the nuances to all this awesome stuff, but I'm learning.
We're all learning.
Sinking in. Let's see, any other questions that anyone has, put them in the chat. We're getting ready to, it's 5:32, so we're gonna wrap up pretty soon, but I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask other questions. I think I can see everyone on the screen. There's only 19 of us right now, but I don't know if there's a way to unmute it. But thank you, Andre. That was amazing, and thanks for putting it into perspective, because sometimes, especially when my nephew's playing certain music, I'm like, what is that? And I'm trying, and I'll share this with you. I've confessed this to a few other people, but I'll share this with you. For the first time in my entire life, over the past since all this stuff happened, I listened to a Jay-Z song with all of the bad words and all of the things, and it really made me feel better. And before, it was like, nope, I will never. But under the right circumstances,
you need it. I'm telling you, it's an emotion that you don't even know how to express yourself, and people know how to string those words together better than us. So, I agree. I think someone just put a question in.
What is that? As a poet that I am, how can one keep authentic to self while listening to great music?
I mean, think about this. When you decide to put I'm actually hungry at the moment. Someone talking about food. When you decide to put a Thanksgiving meal together, we already know that what the standards are depending on your culture. You know, some people could say macaroni and cheese, and others could say, why would you add macaroni and cheese? And I know in my household, if it's Thanksgiving without macaroni and cheese, it's not Thanksgiving. It's like, what is this? So saying that to say, you listen to things that you love, and without you even thinking about it, subconsciously, you synthesize, you take all of these elements that are separate, and you are the product of everything you've ever listened to. Think about that. Even the way you enjoy music was because when you were, unborn, somebody may have played a song that then when you were born and then you were in the household around holidays, this happened. And then it's like, you are the combination of all of these things. So with that being said, I don't, I just think the thing about all of this is, as creators, your job is to take emotions, of course, all that cool stuff, but you create what you want to see. You create what you want to hear. You create what you want to taste. You do a movement that you've never seen done in this way. It's your job to do it in a way that's never been done. If you're just going to be a recreation, at that point you're a cover artist, which is fine, nothing wrong with that. But if you call yourself a creator of music, your job is to take stuff that exists and then add another seasoning, add another spice, add some flavor to it that has never happened before. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, how do you do it? It's just by doing it. Like, what would you wish was on the radio? Write that song. You know, what was, like, whatever it is, but hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, I can keep rambling for 12 hours.
There's something else. Thank you for that. There's something else in the chat there. I would say my vision is not great right now. I would say along with that many times we as artists have been so inspired by a particular artist that we may say something that they said, but I think it's important to express it, such as Wezzy said. I don't know who that is, I'm sorry. Tupac said, Big said, I said, give credit and mix your own opinions in based on what they said. That is honest and innocent. Nice. And
yeah, I love that.
Someone said, damn, I wish we could have a much longer conversation about this. I have many questions on genuine art. Aww.
Well, let's set it up. I'm open to it. It's fine.
Love it. I love it.
Somebody just found my IG. Make sure you put the R on there, though. My last name is Alexander with an R. I appreciate that.
Watch it, Terry. All right. Let me see. I'm just going to go in and see if some of you guys can unmute yourselves if there's some stuff that you want to say. I think you can unmute, or at least give it a try. I don't know.
There was a question earlier about the Green Pines Media logo and how that all came about.
Oh, the Green Pines Media logo. Okay. So when Terry and I started fostering... Oh, there we are. Sorry. When we started fostering, we fostered teenagers because that was the population that we had a hard time placing as social workers. And when we had teens come into our home, they became part of our family. There was no that kid. They were part of our family. And so when we would go on vacation to my dad's ranch in Alabama, we would take the teens with us. And some of them had never left California. Some of them had never seen those green trees. And when we would go, it was just this feeling of, oh my gosh, this is great. This is different. Look at it. You know, it was just a different experience. It was something different. And so when we were trying to think about the name that we wanted for this company and the logo, we consulted the teens, you know, some of the teens that used to live with us. And what they said was that, you know, being in the country, being surrounded by those pine trees and all that greenery just did something for them, and it made them feel better, and it just gave them a sense of freedom that they never had before. And so Terry and I also bought some land down there, and that land is called Green Pines. And so we decided to name the company Green Pines Media because it was something different. It was a sense of freedom. It was a sense of family, and we really wanted to create that that dynamic in the company as well. I might have been missing something too, but yeah, that's
and I've been green my whole life, so you know.
Yes, and
played into it a little bit.
Last name, yes. Ashanti, did you have a question?
I did. That was actually my question, and I appreciate that. In that, my very first time. Okay, hello everyone. I'm a former foster youth. My very first time being in the forest really showed me how awesome life is and how awesome God is. And I was like 7 or 8, and it was like, because you see something that's so large, it's been growing for so long, it's had its own history there, and it just shows like if something so big, can grow out of a tiny little seed, I'm capable of so much, so I really appreciate that. And I'm interested in your logo and just general your business name, just because sometimes that is indicative, and your story does tell that, so I appreciate it. I did an art show a couple years ago, and it was based on trees, and it was called Sticks and Stones. And I named that specifically because there's fallacies that we're told about words not hurting us. Sticks and stones may hurt my bones, but words will never hurt me. But I just wanted to make sure that I express that, because trees are a part of us. It's what we breathe out, what we breathe in. It's like we are giving off certain energies and we're receiving certain energies. So I wanted to appreciate you in that logo. I want to appreciate you guys for having this platform for the foster youth. I'm 34. I went into foster care the day before I turned 9. I emancipated at 19. So I very much relate to the story you were talking about as far as Nigel not having a lane and there not being a creative avenue for that, because I actually got in trouble with my transitional housing because I wanted to make candles, and they were like, "That's not safe," and I'm like, "It's okay, like I have it under control," but it was still like stifling my creativity, And so I really appreciate that you have this avenue for supporting artists. I actually learned about you guys through Adriana Sunshine. I have been, I actually invited her to a walking watercolor tour that I did in the past, because I understand that is like extremely important for former foster youth to have a place where their voice can be heard and for their art to be placed onto display, because we don't always have the opportunity where galleries will show us or where major studios will book us and all of these things. So I appreciate you, and I want to give that as my love. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Ashanti. Let's definitely connect it at some point. So yeah, I'd love to talk with you more. Any other questions before we start to wrap up? Anyone? If not, I just want to say thank all of you for joining us. Obviously, this anniversary looks very different than we planned, but we use the resources and tools we have to show off your work as best as possible. And when things go back, we're gonna be at it. I'm done with school finally, so I'm doing this 100% full time. Be patient. I'm still learning, but I appreciate you guys for teaching me and being willing to walk with me through that learning process, even though I'm not cool at all. And to Evelyn and Lisa Gordon Kane and Andre Alexander, thank you guys for taking time out of your very busy schedules to talk.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Well, you guys are free to hang out. Other than that, just be on the lookout for us. Follow us, share what we're doing, follow our awesome speakers, listen to their music, check them out on Spotify, and have a great day. Be safe out there.
And guys, the second anniversary is going to look a lot different than this.
Yeah, hopefully
some of our folks live. It's a whole different experience.
Yes. Happy anniversary, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Thanks everybody for listening.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, guys.